And
Okay.
I'm always interesting. I'm always interested to understanding the journey, right? So part of
Yeah.
this is like, I want if we have a listener out there, right, and they're connecting with your journey, your story, whatever, I want them to be able to reach out to you. And I want to go back because you mentioned I'm a chameleon twice, right? And I wanted to go back to when you mentioned you were in private school, then went to public school. I don't know how many times you switched schools or not. Like I went to three different schools throughout my growing up. So, like for me, my personality, I'm pretty laid back. I'm pretty chill. I can blend in and out
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
groups as well. Um, did you feel like that making that switch at a younger age? Some people, some kids, right, take that and go one way with it and have a hard time adjusting, right? And
hmm
they go into the corner. It sounds like you took it and utilized the opportunity. Have you thought about has that been an impact on your life as you've grown up? That
You know,
opportunity.
I haven't thought about that. I switched. I switched in fifth grade. So
Okay.
the social switch for me was nothing. Again, like I can,
You were already like that prior to, right?
yeah, yeah. The social switch was fine, and moving to from Catholic to public, I feel like Catholic may be a little bit farther ahead in curriculars.
Sure.
So moving over, like I actually excelled a little bit more than I did in private schools. Um, but social is never an issue. You can throw me anywhere.
Yeah, and I'm sure that helped you set up, right, to ease the transition from going from high school to Orlando, right? Because that's a hard
Yeah,
transition as
yeah,
well. You know what I mean? Like,
correct. And again, I don't think I would be where I am with my now wife, who has actually been through all of this with me.
yeah.
Moving to different states alone is pretty scary. But if you have a companion, that definitely helps, and it eases a little bit of any of the stress, right?
Yeah. Did she just go because you were going, or did she have like an
Yeah. So
opportunity down there as well, or
no, so we were dating quite briefly before I moved, and she was supposed to go to a college, and then I guess her like tuition assistance like fell through. So I was like, come down to Florida. Why not? I liked
yeah,
her enough to do it.
yeah,
And she was like an assistant manager at Panera at the time. Like 18 years old, an assistant manager. What they did is they just transferred her down to that one, making
yeah.
the same amount of money, and we just made it work.
You're right. The support system probably played a huge role
Abs-
into that
Absolutely.
transition. So you go out to LA, right? So you're in Florida, get through college, right? Find what you want to do. Eventually make your way out to LA. Again, the transition, right? It's probably
It's a culture shock. It's different
that
world
one's
from
probably way different than both.
the Midwest and the West. Yeah, it's a wild, wild West, as people say.
So you're out doing your thing, right? You're enjoying life, experiencing what LA has the offer. You found your gig as far as work goes and career, right? Now, kind of what brought you back to Ohio?
Well, it was actually a very impulsive move. I mean, that's a question I get all the time. It's like, why are you back here? You know, yeah, I think a lot of was like, hey, we were coming up on 30, and it now is a conversation of like the building blocks to our future, right? Like, do we want to make a move home now and
Yeah,
be able to stack and some money and be able to put money into savings and then build a home for equity? Or do we want to stay out in LA? You got to put a lot of time into things, which again, I'm all about putting work into it. But
yeah,
you have some executive and assistant producers out there are still living in a two-bedroom with a roommate.
yeah,
The neighborhood we lived in, all the houses started at the time like 1.3, 1.4, and it's kind of like, where do we see ourselves in 5 years from here with our current salaries? Even if we get that bumped up, what does the near future look like for us?
yeah,
Where we can go back to Ohio and figure something out, and a lot easier to purchase a home and maybe get some rental properties. Because again, like I've been saying, like real estate has always been the second thing for me.
So
I
did
always
you?
wanted to do flips. I always wanted to have rentals back in Ohio because I knew it was a little bit more affordable And I think that was one of the biggest reasons. However, it was very impulsive. We found a rental and kind of just picked up everything and left, which now looking back at it, the timing of it, we left in, I think, late 2018, early 2019. And
Yeah.
then, once COVID hit and, the world was in a pandemic, everybody was out of the studio. And out of the studio for a long time. They weren't getting paid. So, I might have ended up back here regardless, but I'm glad I got a jump start.
Did you dabble into any real estate out in LA, or was your thinking always like, hey, real estate intrigues me, but if I do anything, it'll probably be back in Ohio?
Real estate always intrigued me, but what's funny, I have a good friend out. Shout out Lauren Pills if you watch this. Now Lauren Peterson, she's married. Her mom was a real estate agent at some time in Orange County. And I remember she drove down and got like some real estate study books and brought
Yeah.
them up to me. And I was going to study and get my license in California, but after some procrastination, it never happened.
Yeah.
I gave the books back.
So crazy timing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You decide to come back. You said 2018, 2019, pandemic hits. Okay, now you're back in Ohio, right? Were you still looking for jobs for what you were doing out in LA on the production side, or completely gave up on that?
No, it's not that I gave up on it, but there's very little things that you can do here. I mean, you can move to broadcasting and maybe work for one radio stations, and then again, as I said, you have Promo West or
Right.
any of the radio stations, but it didn't really feel right. Didn't work out,
Yeah.
and I procrastinated maybe for like 2 months again to get my Ohio real estate license. But one day I was just like, Hondros, bye, and I just started doing it, and I'm so glad I did.
So was it really just the start of wanting to invest that got you into real estate? Because for me, when I graduated college, that's when HGTV was becoming more popular on TV. I liked the investment side of real estate, flipping, like you said, not
Yeah.
necessarily buy and hold, but I like the flipping idea. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, I don't know anything about real estate. I might as well get licensed and sell some real estate to help me learn.
Right.
It just so happened that I just stayed, on the residential sales side and still do that. Was that kind of the thought process behind it, or did you know you wanted to get
Yeah. I
into
mean,
actual sales?
it was triggered by investing and doing flips, right? Like I've always wanted to do that. I have a good eye for design. Um, so I think that's initially what triggered it, and then the way the market is, it's so tough to flip. But
Yeah.
selling is, again, I love to walk through houses. I like to look at the design, the architecture. I love to talk to people. I love to help people. So real estate that goes in one, providing value to clients. Do life changing things for them. Buying a home is life changing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It makes you feel good. Like, hey, you scored a home, especially
Yeah.
in this market. And then getting some experience under my belt. But I've been doing it for about 2.5 years now. One flip and one buy and hold, and then a couple sales under my belt.
Awesome. Awesome. So I always ask this question, right? It's like, we got the why, why you got into real estate. But what I always like to know is, when you started, did you have doubters, or was there mostly supporters? I'm always curious because, especially me, I started right out of college. So I went to school for 4 years and didn't use my degree. And my parents probably thought I was crazy, right? Going into,
Right.
commission-based business. And, some agents, they have that support system from jump and, encouraging them. And I'm not saying I didn't. I'm just saying, it's always curious of, who's in your corner. Was there any fuel to help you get started as far as the doubters go?
Yeah, I actually really didn't have any doubters. And a lot of my friends that I talk to about it and family, they're like, oh, yeah, you're going to kill it. It's because I can talk to anybody.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
I wouldn't say my mom doubted anything. She was just concerned, like, hey, you just moved back here and you're going into a full commission job. Like,
Yeah.
that's gonna be tough. I was like, listen, I got it. Like, I moved to LA, no job, and like I wasn't even looking at an apartment. I figured it out. You know, like
Yeah.
for some people, you just make it work. You know, no matter how you got to do it, you're going to make it work. And you know, got my real estate license. I met with 5, 6 different brokerages, another 3 or 4 different teams within some of the brokerages, and you know, I was kind of set on one, and I had a friend working for Rhiannon Ferrari, who we all know, um, and I was like, hey, you guys have to sit down for a couple of drinks or appetizers with me. All I need is advice. Like, who do you guys think I should go with? Who's a good fit? And we sat down, no intentions in joining the team. After the, you know, hour or so, we always laugh because we ended up at Adobe Gillis at Easton. But after that hour at Adobe Gillis over some margaritas, she's like, yeah, you got to join our team. I think you do great. Joined her team, and you know, kind of the rest is history. You know, she's really done a lot for my career, and I wouldn't be where I was without her.
Yeah. Yeah. You and I both have that in common with, you know, when we started on teams in the beginning, we got lucky and we had that one person that really took us under their
Yeah.
wings and I don't want to say protected, but you know, put us on the right path, right, to
Yeah,
success.
absolutely.
And we know. Go ahead.
There's a lot of people out in this business who want to start a team. They love the idea of starting a team, but they don't have either the time, the patience to sit down and be able to work with those little birds that, you know, to help them fly. You know, it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, bring on a team. You know, I think I have some tools that can help you, but really can't put the time to answer questions or go to listing appointments if you have a lead, or for me to be able to shadow them.
Right.
That was big. And you know, on our end, it takes us to show up. I was in the office every day listening to everything Rhiannon said on the phone, and just seeing how she did business. And I pick up on things quickly. You know, I'm absolutely a student at all times. I love learning new things, and you know, you just got to put in some work.
Yeah, I mean, you said it right. You showed up. You know,
Yeah,
you could have had the right mentor. You could have had all the tools. You could have had everything that you needed. But
right.
if you don't show up in this business, it doesn't matter, right?
I
And
mean, I'll tell you what. I mean, this business is great for, you know, for freedom of schedule and flexibility. I mean, it can be very demanding at times, but you
right.
know, I don't have to request off to go to Florida last weekend. I just go. You know, luckily I have a team that's around me supporting me if I have showings or contracts to be written. But yeah, you got to show up and put in the work.
Put in the work.